So you talked about it making it worse, and obviously we ought to talk about some of the adverse possible side effects of Shockwave. I think they're fairly limited, but what is it physically doing in your calcific tendinopathy that is getting worse, or is it the bursa that it's aggravating?
Well, what it's not doing, which is really, because unfortunately, as I just said, it's, Shockwave came about lithotripsy for breaking stone, so people still think, and they come to see me, patients thinking, can you break up my calcific lump, wherever it might be in whatever tendon, because there are calcific tendinitis all over the body. And, the job of the Shockwave is not enough energy to break that up. What it does do is it's sort of knocking on the door of the calcific lump and saying to the immune system, hey, you've forgotten to deal with this. Can you start really focusing on it? So we think it's the resorption process sped up by the Shockwave. The body does it, and we're just doing that on it. That sounds osteopathic, doesn't it, a little bit? So, that's all we're doing is knocking on the door and just tapping away at the crust of the calcium lump, and then you deal with it yourself. But if you do it in the middle of a really inflammatory, it just inflames even more. It just you're just, whatever the metaphor might be, stabbing an angry dog. It just makes it worse. And they come back next week and poof, horrible.
Yeah. Other adverse side effects?
Not really known. If I think about all the other tendons, there was there was someone that did some, in a Chelsea Westminster hospital, they did too much fresh acute case. You see acute case, Shockwave on Achilles tendons, and a few ruptures happened.
Right.
They didn't know whether it was that, but what focused Shockwave can do in the short term is really reduce your pain. And if you were doing that with a slightly torn Achilles already, then it probably will rupture because you're loading it too quickly because you were painless.
I've seen that one of the indications for Shockwave is stress fracture.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling to get my head around how that cannot be painful, putting a Shockwave machine, which is shocking.
Stress fracture. And I mean, so stress fracture, I would say probably no. There's a bit of evidence for MTSS, shin splints, so bone stress injuries. And actual stress fracture, I haven't seen that. What there is good evidence for is non-union fractures.
Right. Yeah.
So non-union long bone fractures, particularly the tibia, really good evidence. And we talked about ultrasound earlier. There's always been this Exogen device, which is a wearable ultrasound device. So all that's doing is creating mechano-transductive oomph into the bone that you can't currently load because it's broken. So you can't put your weight down through it, which is giving you that lovely piezoelectric feedback, which creates osteoblastic migration into the bone. You're just filling the gap, literally, with a pressure wave that's stimulating bone growth. That's simple as that. So the ultrasound device, I think you have to be on the NHS over 9 months non-union to get that prescribed, or Bupa to pay for.